We're so grateful to get to introduce you all to John Assaraf. How many of you have been students of, benefited by, influenced by the teachings of John Assaraf at any point in your life? You can put a comment in the chat. You're going to be in for a real treat today. And what I wanted to do is just acknowledge for a moment who you all are and who we are hosting this event, because there's a number of you who are longtime students of our work at Exchange, and there's a whole bunch of you that I've never met before. So first things first, I'm the founder of a company called Exchange, and our interest, our passion, our curiosity is in how do we unlock potential at scale. Specifically, as many of you know, our interest is in how do we design and facilitate group experiences that bring out the best in workshops, trainings, meetings, conferences, retreats, anywhere where we want to more consciously convene, where we want to bring alive our ability to learn, to connect, and also to create the experience of belonging. We have trainings, workshops, certifications, all in the name of this thing we call the Exchange approach. So in a nutshell, that's one way of understanding us at Exchange. But I want to go one layer deeper, because this is why we're here with John today. We have had an interest for a very long time, not only in the tools and the techniques to teach you how to design and facilitate powerful experiences, but also in the work that it takes to cultivate our own presence from the inside out so that all of these facilitation tools can reach their fullest potential. And that inner work that we often refer to is something that we are as interested in here at Exchange as we are the tools to bring together and create transformational group experiences. So today, I have a suspicion is going to bring us deep into the inner realms of developing ourselves from the inside out. Before we bring up John, and this is going to be an interview today, this is largely, if not entirely, unscripted. John and I can both tell you we got on a few minutes ago. We said hi, had a chance to smile at each other and greet each other, but we're going to go where our heads and hearts take us. And I'm really thrilled to see where this is going to go. This is John Assaraf, everybody. John, welcome to the Zoom stage. If you all want to unmute, give it up. Hey, John, this is so cool. This is so cool. This is really special. And I want to say two things, John, and then just invite you to respond. The first, because I haven't given any fancy formal introduction, if anybody's not aware, you've authored multiple #1 New York Times best-selling books. Your podcasts have been downloaded something like 25 plus million times. Your books have sold 1 million times. And there's millions of people who today learn from you right now. And so first thing I want to say on behalf of our community at Exchange, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it means a lot. And then the second thing is I want everyone to know that you and I got connected in a way that was kind of divine. And I want everyone to know the story, and then I'll invite you to say anything you want. We have a teacher, a dear friend, a mutual friend by the name of Dr. Danny Friedland. And there could be some of you here who don't know Danny. I know a lot of you know he is a very important person in my life and in our work at Exchange. Years ago, Danny used to say, John, you got to meet John. And maybe it'll happen one day. And sadly, Danny lost his battle to brain cancer. And I had the privilege of facilitating his online celebration of life. It was during the pandemic. There were hundreds of people. You were in the audience. And you had sent me a little text message during that celebration. I lost it. I couldn't find it and follow up with you because I was trying to lead that celebration of life. And then somehow years later, we're back connected. But I love that a dear, dear friend is our bridge, because it tells me before you say anything how beautiful this is just to get to be with you. So thanks for letting me share that connection, John.
Thank you, John. And it's so wonderful to be here with you and everybody that's here together. And yeah, Danny was a dear friend and very, very special confidant. Somebody that I I shared a lot of stuff with, as he did with me, and we shared our research, our frustrations. We shared, things that were working, the things that didn't. We shared laughter and tears, and so we just shared life, and that was just a beautiful few chapters in my life. So
Mm.
wonderful, wonderful soul.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, John, I'm going to interview you. And as I said earlier, and you and I both know, the only script or plan here is whatever our hearts or the divine has for us. So I want to open this and just ask for folks who maybe not be as familiar with your work or your story, what's the best way for you to introduce yourself in terms of how you went from a very low point in your teenage years, which I can relate to that personally, to entrepreneurship being a way out for you, to you becoming somebody who has changed the lives of millions of people? How do you explain yourself?
I find that I'm an ordinary human being like everybody else that has been extremely curious most of my life. Unfortunately or fortunately, when I was very young, around 5, my parents had moved, fortunately, from Israel, where I was born, to Montreal because they spoke French and they wanted to give their children, my brother, sister, and I, a chance at not living in war-torn Israel, which, we're still experiencing, 59 years after I left there. And I went to Montreal, and I was in a class in an immigrant neighborhood with 50, 60 kids, didn't speak the language, didn't know the alphabet. I had just learned, Hebrew, and it was conversational in Hebrew, started learning Hebrew. And within, 2 years, I was way behind everybody else. My brother was learning English and French. My sister was learning English and French, and teachers didn't have time to really educate. It was like, here's the work, learn it. And if you're ahead, behind, didn't make a difference. So, very, very quickly, I just fell behind all the other kids, and I had a very curious brain. I was extremely active. And I got into a lot of trouble just with the other kids bugging them because I just couldn't sit still for, the number of hours in school. By the time I was in grade 5, 6, 7, 8, I was involved with a group of kids that was really adept at stealing stuff from stores and skipping classes and getting into trouble over and over and over again. That got a lot worse in my teens from 13 to 18. I unfortunately did breaking and entries, did drugs, sold drugs, drank alcohol, a lot of just horrible things back then. And my life came to this head where I was getting into a lot of trouble, detention centers, police departments, and my family was concerned for my well-being. One of my friends died, one went to jail, and I was like one move away from either one of those. Um, and that was like the beginning. I was just trying to survive, trying to fit in, trying to put a little money in my pockets. My father was a alcoholic, gambler, cab driver. No money at the end of every day because he'd be at the stables, playing cards and or betting on horses. And lots of fighting between my mom and dad because she didn't feel safe, she didn't feel secure. And so the environment I was in caused a lot of insecurities, so caused a lot of just a lot of negative emotions around me. And I failed English, failed math in high school, and I was voted most likely to fail in life. So
Mm.
my self-image of myself started deteriorating from like 5 to 18.
Mm.
And not only did it deteriorate, I reinforced, that negative, disempowering victim, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough mindset. And so I did things that, corroborated what I believed to be true about myself, because that was at the time my identity. So that's kind of like the backstory, going all the way back to the beginning of the conditioning and myself. And my family believed that it was scarcity mindset. There was never enough. And so in order to protect myself to have more than enough, I did illegal things so I had more than enough. And money back then for me represented security.
Mm.
And so I used to steal and lie and cheat and give my mother some of the money. And even though she knew that I was doing that, she she's kind of like, "Thank you, sweetheart. We need it." So that's the backstory. But I want to share something with you that I think is really the slingshot to another realm. At 19, and many of you are probably around my age. I'm 63 now, so we're going back 44 years or so. My brother, who was concerned for my well-being, he used to play the pro circuit of the tennis, and he had moved off the circuit, and then he went to Toronto. I was living in Montreal. He went to Toronto to teach tennis at a club called the Mayfair Country Club, where there were very affluent members there. And he met this man. His name was Alan Brown. And Alan Brown was a very successful entrepreneur, real estate developer, had 7 real estate offices, like 700 agents, very, very successful in his marriage, as a father, as a philanthropist, in business, abundance mindset, loving, caring, kind philanthropist. And my brother told him about my challenges. And at the time, I was working for Philips Electronics in the shipping department, making $1.65 an hour, hating what I did, and living at my parents' home with no car, no money really, hating my life. And so my brother says, "Hey, Alan Brown said, why don't you come to Toronto? Let's have lunch, and maybe he'll offer you a job in one of his real estate companies or offices." I'm like, "Let's do it." So I get on the train, take it down to Toronto. My brother picks me up. We go meet Alan Brown. We start chit-chatting, and he's asking me a whole bunch of questions, and I was a cocky 19-year-old. But then I said, "Do you mind if I ask you some deeper questions about life and your future?" I said, "Of course." And he said, "What are some of your goals?" I said, "Well, that's easy. I want to make more than $1.65 an hour. I want to buy a car. I want to move out of my parents' home. I'm 19. I want to date. I want to have a girlfriend, but I can't bring him into my parents', two bedroom apartment." And he said, "Well, that's great, but what are some of your bigger goals?" I said, "I don't have any." And he said, "Do you mind if I ask you to fill out some questions, and then we'll talk about them, and then we'll go from there?" And I said, "Sure." So he gives me this document. It was really just a document with about, I don't know, 10, 12 questions on it. And I'm 19. It was May 1980, May 5th to be exact. And I'll tell you why I remember these dates so well. I look at the first question. It says, "At what age do you want to retire?" I'm like, "What? I'm 19. I want a job. What do you mean retire?" And I asked him, I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Brown, what should I put in here? What number should I put in here?" And he says to me, he says, "Just pick a number." I said, "But nobody in my family is retired. Like, I don't know what's even normal." I didn't know, it was 60 or 65. And so he says, "Well, you're going to need a couple of decades to really, get things in line." He says, "Pick a number that's more than 20 years. And so I said, it's like 25 years from now, okay?" And he says, "Yeah, sure." So, I wrote down in 25 years, said, "Upon retirement, how much net worth do you want to have?" And I looked at the paper and I looked at him again, feeling stupid. I said, "Excuse me, sir, what does net worth mean?" And he explained to me what net worth means. I said, "Well, how much should I put there?" And he goes, "Pick a number." And he says, "But if you want to retire at, let's say, 45, it's going to have to be millions." I go, "Millions? Nobody in my family has millions. Like, my dad makes $25,000 a year." So I said, "Is 3 million enough?" And he goes, "Yeah, write it down." So long story short, what age do you want to retire? How much do you want to have net worth? Where do you want to travel? All over the world. What kind of car do you want? Mercedes Benz. Who do you want to help? I want to help my mother and father retire. What kind of clothes do you want? I want an Italian wardrobe. What kind of home? 4-bedroom, 2-car garage. I wrote down all the stuff out of my imagination. I might as well have been pulling it out of you know what. And so I wrote down the answers to these questions, and he reads them and he goes, "Now, you seem to be living a life of scarcity and struggle right now, but what you just wrote is a life of abundance and significance. If you could be charitable like you said you want to be and live the life that you want to be, that is significant and charitable, because I see you don't just want to do it for yourself." And I go, "Yeah, I'd love to be able to give my parents or my friends or charities, time. We were a charitable family, even though we didn't have much money. We gave what we could." And so he said, "I'm going to ask you one question that will determine whether you achieve every one of these goals." One question. And I could tell you, I was very negative back then. And he looks at me, and in the back of my head, I'm going, "Bullshit. One question is going to determine whether I have all of these things. And this was the game-changing moment in my life. And I've told this story a million times, and I've asked this a million times if my students or podcasts have been on. He leans in and he goes, are you interested in achieving and having and being all these things? Or are you committed to achieving them? And in my mind, I was going, am I interested or am I committed? And I was like, feel stupid again. I say, excuse me, Mr. Brown, what's the difference? Here it goes. He says, when somebody is interested, they allow their present thinking, their present beliefs and knowledge and skills to control their thinking and their behaviors. They allow their current habits, their current identity to determine what they can or cannot achieve, and then they follow through with those behaviors based on being interested. He says, but when one becomes committed, they upgrade their identity to match the new destiny. They upgrade their beliefs, which drives their behaviors. And yes, they upgrade their habits, their knowledge, their skills, so they consistently take the right actions in the right order at the right time to achieve the goals. And then he says, and based on what I've just seen, all of yours are doable and achievable right now. Mm-hmm. So, he says, which are you, interested or committed? I don't know why exactly, but I blurted out of my mouth, well, in that case, Mr. Brown, I'm committed. And he reaches out his hand, puts my hand in his, because I'd reached out as well, and says, in that case, son, I will be your mentor. I was like excited, and I said to him, wow, thank you. What's a mentor? True story. And he explained to me what a mentor was. And 3 weeks later, I moved from Montreal to Toronto. And I didn't know this at the time. He says, hey, come work in my real estate company. And I need you to move from Montreal to Toronto. So I said, okay. I moved in with my brother to his apartment. He said, I need you to sign up for the real estate school, which starts on May the 20th, 1980. I said, you want me to go back to school? No. I hate school. I failed English. I said, stop. There's your story right there. There's one of your stories. I said, I know, but it's true. He says, well, I know the story was true in the past. But when you make a commitment, you're going to upgrade your identity, your beliefs, and your skills, and you're going to take the course and do the test and pass. And I go, test? Oh my God, I cheated on all of my high school tests that I could. I used to steal some of the tests from the teachers' cabinets so that I would pass, or I would cheat from other students. So my way of passing was cheating. And I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, how am I going to cheat in this class that has legal and finance and all this stuff? He says, don't worry, we will do the research and the studying so that you are prepared. And I was scared out of my mind. I borrowed $500 from my mother, my sister, and my brother. I moved to Toronto, got into the real estate class. 5 weeks later, I became a licensed real estate agent. Bam, I passed. You know how? He helped me study every day the right way. And you know why I remember these dates, May 5th to June, like 20 something? Because it was the first test I had passed on my own in many, many, many years. It was the first time I felt proud of myself as a 19-year-old. First time I actually had, oh my God, maybe I'm not as stupid or dumb as I think. Maybe I've just been in the wrong environment, or maybe I've been believing the wrong things. First 6 months, he taught me some marketing techniques and some cold calling techniques and scripting and upgrading my knowledge and skills. And as a 19-year-old, I sold a few homes. He made $31,000 for his 50% of my commission. I made $31,000. He kept upgrading my mindset, upgrading my skills every day for 1 hour. He said was 9 40-hour weeks in a year. So every day, 44 years now, I upgrade my mindset, knowledge, and skills by 1 hour a day, no matter what.
Mm.
And now with AI, by the way, everybody, it's 15 hours a week I'm investing in upgrading my knowledge and skills with AI. That's a sidebar conversation. Next 12 months after the first 6, I end up earning $320,000 as a 20-year-old boy. He got half, I got half. He taught me the mindset and what to do every day, which we can talk about. He taught me the process for leveling up, right? Every single day. And he taught me what I teach today is consistency compounds. Consistency of the wrong thinking compounds. The consistency of disempowering negative or destructive emotions compounds. The consistency of empowering positive, constructive, build me up behaviors compounds over time. So he taught me the mechanics of success at the mindset level, at the emotional level, and yes, at the take action level. And so he gave me the initial formula for acceleration. And 6 years later, I started my own real estate company in Indiana called Remax of Indiana. And over the next 10 years, based on his initial foundation, and then my next mentor, Walter Schneider's foundation, I built a 85 office, 1,200 person, 4.5 billion a year company and kept it for 20 years. So I stand on the shoulders of a few men and women giants who just had the right formulas that I learned and applied. And we can talk about that. That's kind of like the physical side of it. But we can go from there. And then I've just been an entrepreneur, for the last since I'm 19, really. So 44 years of entrepreneurship. Building companies, writing, helping, researching. But what fascinated me, John, and everybody else is I became fascinated with how did I change? Not why. I knew why. How did I change? Like, how was it possible for me? And then I've taught the principles, the methods, the thinking, the systems to many, many, many individuals, either in some of my programs or through other stuff that we do. And this is actually what brought Danny and I together, because we were doing a lot of work. We were both into neuroscience and neuropsychology research, and making a positive impact in the world while we were alive, and even after we are in another vibrational dimension.
Mm. John, I'm super appreciative to get to hear your story told by you the way you just told it. As I'm tracking and taking a handful of notes, there's so many seeds that you just planted that I want to go back to. And I have all of you on gallery. How many of you appreciate getting to hear directly from John the journey? It's awesome. I want to react to a couple things and then just give you a chance to go wherever you want with it. So first of all, I appreciate that, 45 years ago, I guess it was, even I wrote a note down when you started telling the story, which was like my own question to myself. So just as a listener, I wrote, how precisely am I actually inviting the future I want? I mean, just starting with the 12 questions, I thought, what a beautiful reminder, the importance of the questions and the precision, right? So I appreciated that. And then, of course, when you talked about interested versus committed, I'm sure I'm not the only one. And I thought, how many things in my life or my work am I lying to myself about? Like, do I say I'm committed, but am I really? How many of you have some version of that curiosity? Like, how do I check on that, right? And then if I can also just appreciate one more thing, it's, it seems that, and I've heard this idea that we have a capacity as humans to turn our pain into purpose. That, and I don't know if this is true, it's been true for me, that we eventually arrive at a place professionally to heal or resolve some part of our wounded soul from our past. And I look at you 45 years later, and I think it's amazing that your place of very deep pain and all the trouble you were experiencing has almost 180 degrees become a place where now you're helping people at a profound level with their beliefs, their identity, their environment, how to actually change. I think that's fascinating. Where I'd love to go next, John, is, in the present moment now, 45 years after meeting, did you say his name was Alan Brown? Was that right?
Brown.
Yeah.
Alan Brown was the first bit of magic in my transition to a little bit more awareness and understanding.
So 45 years later, as you're here today, if someone was going to ask you, hey, John, what are the three most important things you've learned about change, about identity, beliefs, habits, some of the things you mentioned? What sits at the top for you right now today for any of us that want to intentionally change?
Love that. If I may, between that 19 years old and 63, I've had severe ulcerative colitis where I had ulcers in my colon, and it was so swollen. I was taking 25 pills a day. I was doing betnosol enemas in the morning, cortisone, and night. I was doing a sigmoidoscopy in the hospital every month. And a year and a half of that, they want to take out a portion of my colon. Part one. And there's a reason I'm sharing this. I've been divorced twice, happily married to Maria for 19 years, together for 25. I have failed miserably in one of my businesses. And I've been an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink in 15 years. I've been a sugar addict, that I haven't had any refined sugar now in 14 months. And I want to bring that into the equation as well, because I want everybody just to understand I'm just like you, with similar struggles, similar pains, similar traumas, similar disbelief, similar mistrusting myself. So all of that is to say, people may look at my life now, and at 63, I have a six pack. I'm healthier than I've ever been. So I want you to understand that everything that I'll share with you isn't because there's been a rocket ship ride through the atmosphere like a streaking star without a lot of hiccups.
Thanks for sharing that.
So please understand that. And there are frameworks that I keep coming back to reset, recalibrate, retool. And so that's kind of like part one of understanding, right? So the battles are real. We all have them. We're not impervious to any of them, whether it's health or family and deaths and children and alcoholism or drug addiction or failures or losing your money or making stupid investments. I've done them all. Done them all, been through them. And it's the framework and the mindset, right, that allows you to keep going through these metamorphoses, from one level, one stage to the other, to the other, to the other. So that's kind of like that. So John, let's get back to your question, which was, the three things. So number one, and I have a bunch of stuff that I prepared to show you and to give some of you. Number one is a frame that I like to ask myself and everybody else, and that is, I'm playing the game of life like everybody else, right? Health, wealth, relationships, career, business, finance, charitable contributions, fun, and experiences. And in health, I look at spiritual, emotional, mental, physical. Okay, so when I'm looking at my health, I put those four things in that category. And here's the frame that I'd like to invite. If you were committed to achieving a goal in any area of your life, would you, A, agree that how to achieve it, how to let go of the disbelief, the low self-image, the I'm not good enough, I'm inadequate, I'm too old, I'm not skilled enough, would you agree that in 2025, when we've just begun this AI revolution of biblical proportions in health, wealth, relationships, career, business, we know how to achieve just about any goal? Would you agree with that? Everybody just with a Y for yes and for no. Now, I didn't ask, do you know how? But Do we as a species, right, know how to be healthier, have more energy, how to lose weight and keep it off, how to stop drinking too much or popping pills to sleep, or having a miserable relationship and feeling inadequate? Do we know how? All right. So if we know how, that is not your problem. So now let's get into the three things. Number one, are you committed to an outcome you want? It's just binary question, yes or no. If you say, well, kind of, sort of, the answer is no. So stop giving yourself that leeway, okay, of kind of, sort of, maybe, sometimes. That means no. It just means no. When you're committed, you figure out a way. You become resourceful in the absence of resources. And then, if you're committed, number two is, how do you upgrade your identity to match the commitment? What do you need to believe in order to achieve? What do you need to believe about yourself? What do you need to believe about the possibility? So commitment first, identity second. Now, within identity, right, is my beliefs, my self-image, my self-worth, right? And what character traits do I need to bring forth to do it without the stories, the reasons, the excuses, the rationalizations, which I define as the rational lies I tell myself over and over and over and over again. So again, at the commitment level, there is no other option, period. So if there is no other option, then that means I want to take my mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical energy and channel it like a laser, not sunlight. Now, many of you have heard, believe that everything is energy, right? And the truth is almost everything is energy, but let's assume that our thoughts have energy, right? They produce an electrical signal, energy, a neurochemicals, energy that cause us to feel certain things, whether it's dopamine and how it makes us feel, or cortisol, how it makes us feel. Everything within our lives is energy. So can I learn like a professional archer to focus on the bullseye and practice the bullseye focus mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically? Can I learn? And if archery is a skill, like martial arts is, or like learning a language is, or like knitting is, or like getting dressed is, or like learning how to cut our food as a child is, if focus is a skill, can I get better at that neuromuscle and strengthening it, so I am not a distractosaurus in my own life?
Distractosaurus.
Right? So there's a very, very big difference between productivity and activity. And in the world I live in, there's no such thing as time management. The only thing I can get better at is what I do in time. And either I'm focusing on the highest, most important impact activities now, or I am not. And the most successful people I have found have discovered ways to focus on the critical few instead of the trivial many. So we're going to go to commitment, identity, and then number three is the right actions in the right order at the right time. And just to prove that one, how many of you have ever baked a cake? Let's say we want to bake a delicious, yummy, amazing chocolate cake. What are the things that we need for a chocolate cake to bake it like a delicious one? Give me the ingredients in the chat if you don't mind, so we can have a little bit of fun. We need chocolate. Yeah, cacao, right? High quality cacao. John, avocado, yeah. Little good fat. Butter, flour, eggs, milk, batter or sugar, right? A little salt. We need the oven. Does the oven need to be at a specific temperature, preheated? Does the cake need to go in for a predetermined amount of time, give or take? Now, what if we put the ingredients in the bowl in the wrong order? Put any one of the ingredients in the wrong order. What are the chances that we're going to get a delicious cake if we get the recipe for it, but we do not follow it in the right order? Right? It just doesn't work, does it? So if you are busy taking action, but it's not in the right order or the right, thing, it doesn't matter how hard you work. So one of the things I teach all of my students is this. It's called think first, then plan, then do, then review. Think, plan, do, review. There's a framework. First, I think. I am on either Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT for hours every day in the thinking, helping me think, in the helping me plan. I take action, review, do it again. I've just added a second brain or a few second brains to make sure that I have the right syntax. So I am conserving time, energy, money, whatever the case is. Because all of the how to, why to, for the entire history of our species is already loaded into these data centers that I can access for free and we're for $20 a month. So think, plan, do, review. So now if I'm committed, now if I've upgraded my identity to believe that I can, that I deserve it, I'm good enough, smart enough, worthy enough, etc., I've eliminated the things that might be holding me back, and I do the right things in the right order at the right time. There is almost no way that you cannot achieve a goal. Today, 100 years ago, maybe we didn't have that gift, but today we do. Now, the challenge is we're all creatures of habit, and some of us are in negative habit hells or disempowering habit hells. Now we get into the domain of neuromechanics, right? What's going on in my brain that is making it so hard for me to interrupt and break a pattern, that has been reinforced for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Now I have to understand the science of change. And again, when I understand the science of change, then I can change a little bit easier. And then I can reinforce a new pattern and make that automatic. It's called automaticity in neuroscience. Right? Automaticity is when you do something enough times consciously, your brain automates it. It's called automaticity. And you and I operate every day in automatic fashions. 95% of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are automatic wiring and firing of the same neural patterns. So what I want to do and what I teach, what I've been practicing for many, many years, what I call is deliberate conscious evolution. I'm deliberately and consciously evolving myself versus repeating and reinforcing patterns that may not be serving me, like, alcoholism, sugar addiction, and those types of things that made it very, very difficult for me to do all the right things in the right order at the right time. So there's a few frameworks that we can play with on just some of my thinking and some of the frames of how I see this, all of this.
John, this is it's more than fascinating. It's really inspiring, and I'm listening to you, just taking notes as a learner. I'm also appreciating the comments in the chat box. You all enjoying where this has gone thus far? I'm gonna come to you, John, with a couple reflections and questions, and go wherever you want with it. By the way, I got to tell you, I've been off of sugar and alcohol just this year, and one part of me would have always thought to have known how much it would change things for me, but it's totally different than actually experiencing it. So I'll just share firsthand. That's been mind blowing. And when people ask me, what was the key to doing it? The key to doing it, wasn't my idea. It was my partner, Adair. We live together. We do life together. I couldn't watch her do it and me not do it. So that's a kudos for our environment, right? More than anything else. There's two things you mentioned that I want to invite you to comment on. Well, there's more than that. So I'll just speak for myself. And because I'm the one here, I'm just going to be selfish and share my shortcomings and see what you have to say about this. I feel like my biggest struggle is when it comes to my identity. Because I also agree we live in this day and this age where I can have any technology or any book or any teacher tell me what ingredients in what order for whatever I want to achieve. I feel like I can get all of those answers instantly. And yet I feel like what holds me back, I'm talking about myself, is some deep part of my identity that I feel like over time I've slowly made progress with, but I feel like there's still things I just haven't totally cracked the code. And even though I can't always name it, I feel like I can see parts of myself holding myself back. Even if I don't fully understand, and I've done so much work, and yet I feel like there's still things I can't see. I'm curious, any comments on that? I don't know if any of you can relate to what I'm saying. So that's one question I have. And then the other is this phrase, deliberate conscious evolution. I want to type into the John Assaraf chat GPT, give me your top 3 deliberate conscious evolution things you do every day. So those are a couple things that come up for me. And of course, you can go, oh, your daily neuro cheat sheet. Well, give us the cheat sheet.
I will actually give it to all of you as a gift.
Now you've made cheating okay. I mean, it used to get you thrown in jail or whatever. This is great.
There's a few things. Deliberate conscious evolution. I'll give this to everybody. I've got a few things I'm going to paste in the chat. John, I'll have to give you this so you can pass it on to everybody.
You're awesome.
My daily neuro cheat sheet, which sits here on my desk. I also have a program that I teach and people get. It's called my Exceptional Life Blueprint. And in my blueprint, and we can get into why I do this, is there's a little, some photos of my family and my kids and my wife. And this was the visual that I used when I was looking to get a 6-pack at 60. So I used this guy from the 70s as a visual to see that's what I want my body to look like. We've been to this place, we've been to that place, we've chartered this jet. So I have a combination of my life that I want and my life that I'm manifesting. I put this in my vision board book, which we could talk about during COVID. It's in my garage right now. So I start off every day by looking at all the things, family, health, charity things I've accomplished, and I combine them with everything I want to manifest, on the physical or emotional plane. But then I have a bunch of, things that we've already achieved on here as well. So I can see my achievement board also. So I'm remembering how much I've actually accomplished by being deliberate about what I want to trade my life for. That's kind of like part 1. But then part 2, by the way, this is like another image of what was moving toward, but to remind me I did. But then we talked earlier about deliberately constantly evolving yourself. So this is the story of my life. So I have it written out, in 3 pages of the story of my life. And this is my working copy. And it always starts off with, I'm so happy and grateful for the fact, that my life has turned out to be a masterpiece. I'm blessed to contribute my knowledge and skills and passion in ways that inspires and positively impacts the lives of millions. I wrote this 10 years ago. 10 years ago. NeuroGym is now the #1 science-based neurofitness company in the world. I now earn X. I give X. I easily and naturally lead and inspire people and others with passion, purpose, clarity, and certainty. So I write out the story that isn't true or real right now, with all of the beliefs, all of the things that's happening in my life. So I'm creating a new script, a whole new script, Right now, the script is not true at the time of writing because it's aspirational, right? But then every single day, I read it. I run my fingers across it to send a signal from my hands to my brain to fire and wire, okay, this script like a Hollywood actor would learn his lines, or she would learn her lines, right? We had the Oscars last night. They learned their lines to win those Academy Awards or Oscars. I recorded and listened to it in the morning as part of my inner size strengthening practice every freaking day.
Mm. Mm.
So I am doing with my mind and this brain of mine, which is, $100 billion brain. All of you own it. All of you own $100 billion brain. Functionally, every brain works the same. Just like functionally, every electrical car works the same, right? Functionally, every gas-powered car works the same. Your amygdala functionally works like my amygdala does, right? Your reward center, the nucleus accumbens and insula, right, works exactly like mine does. Now, what if you and I could strengthen the key, what I call our neuromuscles, right? We build the neuromuscles, then the neuromuscles build us. What if every day I was deliberate in firing those neurons and reinforcing the neurons that are empowering, constructive, build me up, right? Constructive, empowering, and positive. And I release the disempowering, destructive, and maybe negative patterns that I accumulated from the time I was born into the family that I was born. And if you think about this, were you born with a self-image, John?
I don't think I was.
No, not one child has been. Were you born with any beliefs, good or bad ones?
Not that I'm aware of.
Were you born with any fear?
Nope.
Great. So what is a belief? What is a self-image? And what is a fear in the brain?
Learned.
It's learned. So if we go into some of the neuromechanics, right? We have brain cells. Let's say it was 100 billion. We'll just use, right? So those brain cells fired, right? Neurons fired, wired, reinforced. The neuroplasticity switch, as many of you know, right, is turned on when we're born, right? And everything we hear, see, smell, taste, touch, the patterns, the schemas, as somebody says, the constructs are fired and reinforced. And then at the age of about 12, 13, 14, the switch goes off. It turns off. Now we're in the reinforcement years. So now, whatever we have learned to believe, our brain looks for, searches for, and reinforces. And it deletes and distorts everything else. Even though in the world that we live in, there's so much abundance. But if we have been taught scarcity thinking, minimized thinking, not enough thinking, negative stories, reasons, and excuses, our brain just reinforces us seeing that. So we don't see what there is to see. We don't experience what there is to experience. We see and experience, right? And we reinforce through our biases and the lens by which we see the world, everything that has been conditioned or programmed into this beautiful, I call it an organism, not an organ, because it is molding, shaping, growing, pruning, developing every minute of every day. So deliberate conscious evolution is, I'm not going to be a victim of my mother or father or World War I or World War II or scarcity thinking, and I'm not smart enough because I failed English or math, or I was told I was stupid and made fun of by other kids. I'm not going to allow that experience control me past the age of 19. Because I had a mentor show me this. And every day, the questions or the answers to the questions, that he asked me to write, do you know what he had me do next? Write the new story. And then every year I've been tweaking my story. Every year I've been creating my vision boards, right? Of the past, the future, coalescing it into now, creating my neuro cheat sheets so that I can start every day with gratitude to activate the nucleus accumbens, my dopamine reward center, to feel grateful, positive neurochemicals. Good. I wake up, I open my eyes, I thank God for giving me another moment of life, right? I ask myself, what are three things I'm grateful for? I stand up, put my feet, or I sit down and put my feet on the floor and I go, oh my God, I get to do this again. For how long? I don't know. That's how I start every day. Then I go and do my meditation for 10, 12 minutes. And then I do probably about 8 to 10 minutes of inner size. So I'm investing a block of time. Okay, my front end book and the opening of my day, right? I'm investing it in an empowering, constructive pattern. And I'm going to show you all something. Give me a second. I'm going to look for something that you will understand in a moment, right? So every day, I have my highest values I live and make decisions from. So God, connecting to source. I am not religious, but I believe every one of us is spiritual, right? Health. Remember I shared with you health, right? Spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, financial health. My family and true friends, contribution to mankind and the planet, and then fun and experiences. All of my decisions stem from this deliberate and conscious pattern of what I want to trade my life for while I am alive. And that is what my practice is every day. So, I follow my rituals for reinforcing what it is that I want. I don't invest much time other than when I'm setting my goals and my vision for what I don't want. So I am deliberate, like a pilot is, where the destination is that you and they are heading to, or a cruise that you're on goes from here to here to there to there to there to there to there. Very, very deliberate. And then I create all of the resources that are needed to overcome the obstacles, the mental obstacles, emotional obstacles, financial obstacles, people obstacles, government obstacles, president obstacles, high interest rate obstacles. And I focus on how I can versus why I cannot 99% of the time. Because I've trained myself like an Olympic athlete would train to win a gold medal. And the whole purpose of this is I refuse, will not live an average, ordinary life. And I will pay the price of discipline today so I do not pay the price of regret later.
Jon, I am super inspired. Beverly just wrote in the chat, this entire session has been bonus time. Yeah. I have two questions. One that I want to make sure I have you answer now. Yeah. And the second one I'm going to ask you to hang on to until we get near the end, maybe in about 15 minutes, because then I'm not going to hide this. It's a total hook. People are going to want to hear your answer. So I'll start with that one. So in just a second, I want to invite you to share with everybody, when you say inner size, you have a book and an app that your company has developed. I don't want to forget, because I know myself, we could keep going and I could forget. Just the smallest way that I can say thank you to you is invite everybody here to go check out your book, check out your app. If there's a link we can put in the chat, this is like the smallest way to thank you. And then after you talk about that, I want to hear some of your perspective before we invited everyone into this room. There's a fascinating intersection between your expertise, neuroscience, this age of AI, and also like the rise in the use of plant medicine. And you gave me permission to go anywhere you wanted to. So I do want to hear your take on this emergence of these medicines that some would say have been used for thousands of years and their role in today's age. But first, can you tell everybody how to find your app on Innercise? Our team might have the link loaded up. I have no idea.
Yes. So, I wrote a book called Inner Size. Everything's opposite where I'm looking. So there's my first New York Times bestseller. But Inner Size is the new science to unlock your brain's hidden power. So it is complex stuff made for layman's like me on how to use your brain better. And I think all of you would agree, we have a brain, we are not our brain. We have emotions, we're not our emotions. So you can go to Amazon and pick up the book. But I also created over 600 brain strengthening exercises using visualization, meditation, mindfulness, cognitive behavior therapy, every evidence-based practice that we can use to strengthen our self-image, our beliefs, our self-talk, our emotional regulation. I came up with exercises using all the different methodologies for myself and my students, and I created over 625 exercises that people can have, and it's either like $12 or whatever for a month, or $100 for a year, $199 lifetime. And then I invite world-renowned experts to be, in the Innercise app as well, with videos and interviews like we're doing today on practical applications of their specialty, whether it's stopping addiction and or building your self-image. So that's the book and the app. Now let's go to your other questions. My short-term memory, you asked a bunch of them. Do you want me to go to the psychedelics, or do you want me to go to the other question?
Well, I want your take on psychedelics and also this age of AI.
Yeah.
And even you talked about how you're using AI now 15 hours a week now that you have AI as opposed to the hour a day. I'd love to hear some examples, or what are some of the ways that you're prompting or using AI as your thinking partner? And some might find it strange that I'm raising AI and psychedelics in the same conversation, but I actually think if you look at a brain, if you look at a computing network and you look at what these psychedelics do, it's literally the same picture. Now, John walked away. That's either a great thing or a wonderful thing.
I want to tell you something. All right, and I have something I want to show everybody, and if we can do a demonstration of AI, I could really help you. But I'm going to look for something right over here. On my desk over here, you see I have a little book called Innercise Your Way to Success. It's about 25 pages of scientifically proven methodologies to do what we need to do. I have a little 25-page book on the power of mindfulness, right? The power of affirmations, the power of visualization, the power of self-compassion, the power of meditation, and one that I'd like to show you is the power of gratitude. Okay? And everybody here I know practices gratitude, but this is all the science for gratitude. And John, if you remind my team, I'll give you all a free copy of this. But I'll show you exactly what I want to share with you. So let's talk about AI. How many of you are using AI right now as a thinking partner and to generate, whether it's to generate a story, a book, data, whatever the case is, right? There's two types of AI, and I've been teaching it for 2.5 years to all of my business students. And think about this, generative AI, let's back up. All of the written documentation ever created in the world, all the auditory, all the visual, all the data, all the research, all the testing, and how it was all done is already in data centers. Now, the AI, whether it's OpenAI or Gemini or Claude or Qwen or DeepSeek, is software that accesses this information and can help you generate what you want. Does that make sense so far? That's called generative AI. I can generate something from all the information that was ever created in the world. Now it's kind of like phase one the last 2 years. Phase two just entered into it. It's called agentic AI. Agentic AI, just think of an agent, a real estate agent, an insurance agent, a travel agent. You tell it or him or her what you want, it will go and execute it for you with permission. We just entered the agentic AI era where the software is so smart, it will do things for you. I'll give you an example, real world example. In my company, myneuroGym.com, we get about 10 to 12,000 emails a week, tickets coming in from either customers of ours, people wanting information, a credit card that's not working, something. They haven't sent an email. Hey, I need this. I have a problem with this. I want more information on this. I've had 8 individuals working to respond to those. Get the email, look for the email. Does it go to customer service? Does it go to sales? Does it go here? Where does it go, right? And it takes us usually about 5 hours before a first response. And it takes us between 12 to 15 hours to close a ticket. Does that make sense, everybody? From first email to resolution. So 5 hours first response, 12 to 15 hours as a resolution. Monday last week, we turned on one of our new AI systems that we have trained for 2 months on all the permeations of what people have been asking and the answers and the solutions. Our response time last week from Monday to Friday, first response, it was 5 hours, 1 minute. Do the math. Our resolution time went from 12 to 15 hours to 4 hours in phase 1. 4 hours. This week, that will go down to probably 2 to 3 hours, depending on where people are emailing us from. So we have just saved my team, I mean, literally dozens of hours each a week. So that's more agentic AI. All right, it'll do the things and it'll close out some tickets. It'll do the work. It comes with a cost that we're going to go through a very, very challenging time for many of us because humans don't like change. And this is the greatest change that's ever happened in humanity. So AI, if you give me 1 second, I'm going to show you something. If you let me share my screen.
Yeah, you should be able to.
We'll do a quick little lesson over here, everybody. I'm going to take you into my computer. You want to have a little AI lesson of
let's have fun.
All right. So let's say I go over here to this tool that I use all the time called Gamma. Somebody in the chat, give me a topic. Okay, give me your business or a topic that you wanna do something with. All right. Give me a topic. Give me any topic. End of life planning. Okay, end of life planning. First thing that I knew, I'm going to do create a new document. Okay, I'm going to hit generate. Actually, let me back up because I'm going fast. I can either paste in some text, okay, of some research I've done, or I could do generate from here. I could say, create an end of life planning. Create an end of life planning document for me. All right, it's going to generate an app for me. Oh, hold on 1 second. In seconds, it's going to do end of life planning research. All right, why end of life planning matters. Last will and testament, living will, durable power of attorney, HIPAA release form, digital asset plan, next steps. How are we doing so far?
You're good.
I like it, right? I'm going to hit generate. I'm just going to hit generate. I could modify any of this and tweak it, adjust it. I don't like it. And watch what it'll create for me. Essential end-of-life planning documents. It's creating a document for me. Planning for the end of life can seem daunting. However, it's thought of as an act of love. It ensures your wishes are honored and it eases the burden for your family. By John Assaraf, right? Why end-of-life planning matters. Ensures wishes are respected, reduces stress, provides legal protection. Let's say I think that's not long enough. I want more information. I could click on here and I could say, make this section longer. It'll make the section longer in seconds for me. Now I can modify this, okay, and add all of my experience and I could load whatever I want into it. Okay, now it's made this section a little bit longer. All right, what if I don't like this image, which actually is not a bad image? I can go over here and I could just say, replace, make this more visual. So I'm going to make that whole section more visual. This is gamma.app. All right, so I can create okay, with the help of AI, I can get all the research done. I could check and balance it. I can make it prettier. I can add an image or remove an image. I can make the text longer or shorter. And I can verify all of this, okay? So you see how it just created a better image for me? I can change any one of these images individually. Now I can share this if I have a business as a social media post or put on my website in seconds. But let me show you something even more powerful. I'm going to go over here to another tool. Have any of you played around with notebook.lm? So you see my book over here called The Power of Gratitude I showed you before, right? Yep. So this was written by AI. This was edited by AI. The images were created by AI, by a team member that I have who is managing this. I reviewed it. I made changes. I approved it. We created a little book. You know, it took us about 4 hours to do this 20-page book. But you see this Power of Gratitude right over here? This is the document that I loaded up into here. Are you all with me?
Yep.
Took the document that I had created with other AI. I loaded it up into here. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop my share for a second so I can start sharing sound with you. But this is, you know, learning how to upgrade your knowledge and skills to match what you want. All right, so let me go back to this. Oh, no, not my Einstein. Give me 1 second. Let me go to a different image. Let's go over here. All right. So you can all see my screen, right?
Yep.
All right. So it's loading the conversation. All right. And it's going to take about a minute for this. And I want the name of somebody. Listen to what just happened. I loaded this ebook, okay, around gratitude. Now, listen to this.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into gratitude.
Ooh.
We've got this really cool PDF guide.
Oh.
And I have to say, just even glancing through it, I'm fascinated already by this concept of gratitude.
Yeah.
And it's not just about, you know, like saying thank you.
Yeah.
It's like a whole shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And the guide even goes into how it affects, you know, your brain chemistry and your relationships and even your career.
Well, that's what's so fascinating about this is that it really combines ancient wisdom with modern science. You know, you're talking about everything from the Stoics to modern neuroscience.
Right.
And they actually like complement each other beautifully.
So the guide starts off with this really interesting analogy about magical glasses.
Okay.
And it basically says, when you put on these gratitude glasses, you start to see the world differently. Like things that you might have overlooked before suddenly pop out at you.
Yeah.
What resonates with you about that idea?
Well, I think it speaks to the power of perspective. It's not about changing your circumstances. It's about choosing to focus on what's good.
Yeah.
Like the Stoics believed gratitude is an active practice.
Yeah.
It's a way of training your mind to notice and appreciate all.
That's awesome.
Hold on. I'm not done. Hold on. Watch this.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be doing...
Oh, wait. Someone wants to join. Hey, go for it.
Hey, can you just say hi to Jon Berghoff and tell him how grateful I am for him?
Oh, yeah.
Can you do me a favor and say hi to Jon Berghoff and tell him how grateful I am for him? All right. So for some reason...
Of course. Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
Can you say hi to Jon Berghoff for me?
Absolutely. It's our pledge. Shout out to Jon Berghoff from our listener.
We appreciate you, John.
Send a good vibes your way.
And where were we?
We were about to get started.
Okay, let's unpack.
Okay.
That's so great.
So I could create a study guide, you know, from this, right? And I can use AI now to do what I was doing faster, easier, better, cheaper. Now, it's not perfect, but I can create a plan for my health. I can create a plan. I just did blood work, which I do at the beginning of every year. I took my last 5 years of blood work. I loaded all 5 years, okay, into ChatGPT. And I said, I want you to act as a functional medicine expert specializing in analyzing blood work. I'm going to load up 5 years of my blood work, and I want you to analyze the progress or anything else that you find that I need to be focusing on in literally a minute. It shared with me everything I needed to be aware of over the last 5 years. And then I just said, okay, now what would you recommend? So I can use AI to write, to read, to analyze, to synthesize, to check and balance, to create graphs, charts, whatever it is that I want. And you think of AI as you would your tool chest in your garage. You have a flathead screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, a wrench, a hammer, whatever it is that you need to find the tool to help you do what you need to do a little faster, easier, better, and cheaper. And so there's no excuse now for not knowing what to do in the right order, minute by minute, day by day. So I just thought we'd throw that in there just because it came up in AI. And then just so you know, I had a hard stop in 2 minutes, but I just moved that meeting. That's what I'm doing on the right over here.
All right.
First, I'm going to be 10 minutes behind, so we have about 8 minutes to go.
Well, John, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Well, then let me come to you with one more question here, and we'll see where this goes. And thanks for giving us a glimpse into some of these ways you're using AI. I know that's illuminating for a lot of folks. And for those of you who are a part of the Exchange community, I see some of your side comments in the chat. You're inspired, you're curious. It's a good reminder that those of us that can create transformational experiences through our approach, we become so much more valuable. Right? The value of your content is being replaced every second of every day. We've got to be somebody who can create transformation around your ideas, right? That's what we stand for. And that's something we'll be continuing to lean into and talk with you all about and how we're using AI, what we're learning from it as well. John, I want to ask you about, so you've got these advances in computing technology, advances in understanding how the brain works, how consciousness works. Is it a coincidence that simultaneously there is almost an equal rise in interest in the solutions that Mother Nature has for us when it comes to our consciousness, plant medicine? Any thoughts on that? I've never talked with John about this, so I have no idea what you were going to say. You just said nothing's off limits, so I wanted to hear your take.
So all of us were born with this idea that reality is what we can hear, see, smell, taste, and touch, right? And this is who I am, right? But this is not who I am. This is my body. My body has organs. My body has muscles, tissues. I have a brain. I have a heart. I have liver. I have brain cells. That's the physicalness of our body. But we know that, like right now, you may not be hearing any music, but there is music playing right now, but we don't have a tuner, right, to tune into the frequency that's already here right now. So we know that there's, millions or billions of frequencies and layers to consciousness and to life. So we know that there's, spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, and we know that there's a physical world we're so used to living in, but we also have this internal world. We have physical power, right? We have chemical power, but we also have nuclear power. When we learn how to release the energy in the nucleus of an atom, or fuse them together, fission or fusion, the energy that's already there is released. Well, consciousness, if you're playing on the surface, you're dealing with hear, see, smell, taste, and touch, and maybe a bit of intuition. Now, our brain, if you think about the electromagnetic spectrum, right? You think about the electromagnetic spectrum, right? We have electromagnetism, strong and weak nuclear force. We have gravity. We haven't figured out how they all work together yet. We have dark energy and dark matter, and we haven't figured out how all of it works together. But what we do know is, let's say light, right? It travels at 186,000 miles per second. Like nobody even knows what that means if you calculate that out per minute. But as light is traveling in through our eyes, our brain slows all of it down. It can't process light at that speed. So it acts as a governor on reality because it cannot process light or sound at the speed that it comes in, that it's traveling at. Now, let's take medicines, right? So different medicines, like different tools, do different things in the brain, and they act as accelerators or decelerators, accentuators, right? In many, many cases. And so when we maybe do a plant medicine, and maybe that executive functioning part of our brain is set aside and it hyperactivates the default mode network or salient network in the brain, and we can all of a sudden have a way to see, right? Not with our physical eyes, but a way to experience a different vibrational field of nature that we are in. It's a mind freaking altering experience because it seems more real, or at least as real as this reality that we're experiencing right now. And so different medicines, whether it's ayahuasca, whether it's ketamine, whether it's mushrooms, any one of the different medicines done in a safe, controlled environment with individuals who know what they are doing and how to facilitate it, so not recreationally because it's dangerous, can be one of the most magical, life-enhancing experiences of your life. I did dimethyltritryptamine, 5-MeO, literally about, 15, 18 years ago. DMT, it's called, 5-MeO. And after these 20-minute journeys, and we did several of them, several individuals, when I came back from being defractalized or fractalized, back into this physicalness, the first thought I had, I can't wait to do this with my sons. And I'm anti-drugs for drug purposes. But the first thought I had was, holy mackerel, what a mind-altering experience of a new way to see reality. And it took probably about 12, 13 years before I felt they were ready to experience this with me in their mid-20s. And I've introduced it to my friends, students, family, different medicines. And every single person says it's in the top 3 to 5 things that has ever happened to them or for them. And you have to be extremely careful, and you have to learn how to have some mental and emotional regulation, because sometimes it can be very, very scary. And even in the scary moments, when you understand how to navigate through the things that show up that is there for you, it is life-changing. So I've had plenty of experiences like that in the last 15 years, exploring consciousness and the nature of reality. I've done a ton of work in sensory deprivation tanks under the guidance of medical professionals, and exploring my own consciousness in a controlled environment with no sound, no light. And it's like, it just changes your understanding at a cellular level of this gift. It can't even be called a gift, this miracle that we call as life. Mm. And I experienced that with our friend, Dr. Daniel Friedland, because I had been exploring that side for many, many years, and he was curious. And I invited him to a psilocybin journey in a beautiful temple with a spectacular shaman with a few of my other friends. And he was crying in joy. Literally crying in joy, happy, sitting at the front of everybody, being blown away because he had studied the brain, but never experienced this. And it changed his life in a beautiful, beautiful way. So we can play life at the surface, and that's okay if that's where you want to play, but then we can go deeper. It's no different than sports. You can play, for leisure, or you can play at a higher level. It's no different if it's a Rubik's Cube or knitting. There are higher, different levels to play at if you choose to. Mm. And when we're talking about consciousness, we're talking about energy, vibration, frequency, resonance. We know we can enter, different realms of the field that we're all in. We're in this quantum field. It's not like it's out there and we're in here. We're the fish in the water, and the water is in us, right? And so when we can use this electromagnetic switching station, the brain that receives light energy, sound energy, tactile frequencies, intuition that knows before you think, when we can expand that, you can't not be changed by it, because the construct of our lack of self-confidence or low self-image or self-worth or feelings of inadequacy, our beliefs that hold us back, our fears of this, of snakes and this, or dying and this, it can just go away with the right, like I say, inner size, the right ways to strengthen the brain in ways that empower us and live a more magical life. So that's been my experience, and is just to I'm an explorer. Like I'm an explorer. I'm willing to to expand my borders of familiarity. I'm willing to expand my feeling of safety and security, which is in many cases an illusion, right? And so just I invite everybody to just explore.
Jon, I want to say thank you for several things. One, for sharing your story and your journey. Two is the way you do it, which is so openly. And I would say for someone in your position, it could be so easy to succumb to fear, to not speak whatever your truth is. In fact, the very last thing you said is you're willing to expand your barriers of safety. Even just sharing your truth just now, you can take criticism for that, but clearly what you're modeling is speaking your truth, right? Whatever people choose to do with that is their choice, and they'll follow their truth. This has been amazing, Jon, and I know you got to run. I just want to invite all of you, if you want to share what has been the greatest gift from our time with Jon, in the chat box, so that we can capture that and I can send that to him. So feel free to put what has been your greatest gift in our time with Jon. Feel free to put that in the chat. While you all are doing that, I just want to endorse and encourage you all, go check out Jon's Inner Size app and in the book as well. We'll re-forward that to everybody that registered for today. I would just encourage you all to follow your curiosity and take a good look at those. Jon, please.
I just posted an image for all of you because we didn't even get to the law of attraction and resonance. So I posted that for you, and I wanted to talk to everybody about this. And this is worth either you talking about it, Jon, but look into this, because these are some of the things that I teach about sympathetic resonance versus destructive interference. And if we are energy, which we are, and our thoughts are energy, and our emotions are energy, our behaviors are energy, are you in sympathetic resonance, increasing the amplitude of the vibrational force that you are, or are you practicing destructive interference? Now, I'm going to leave you with one thing to consider. When two waves in the ocean that might be 10 feet each intersects, they create a 20-foot wave. That's called sympathetic resonance. For those of you building teams, the reason for a vision, the reason for goals, the reason for alignment is because of sympathetic resonance, which increases the amplitude of the vibration, like singers coming together in a band or orchestra or musical instruments. It increases the value of individuality. Number two, when you are out of alignment, destructive interference, a 10-foot wave intersecting with a 3-foot wave creates like a 1 or 2 foot wave. So you lose the wave function possibilities. So we didn't have time to go there, but this is some of the stuff that I play with, and some of the stuff that, why do I do my neuro cheat sheet? Why do I review my exceptional life blueprint? Because I want to create as much sympathetic resonance between spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. So I'm in alignment as much as possible. And that's my orchestra called my life. And I invite you all to get into sympathetic resonance as much as you can and be deliberate about it. And you're going to be a clumsy beginner at first, but then you'll become unconsciously competent, and it'll be effort less versus effort more.
Jon, thank you so much. If you all want to unmute and just let Jon hear your voices, you're welcome to express your thanks while you're here, everybody. Go for it. Jon, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Wonderful reminder.
Thank you.
I
Amazing.
appreciate you.
Thanks, Jon.
Thanks, Jon Berghoff at
Thank
xchange.
you. Thank you.
Enthusiasm for neuroscience.
Beautiful.
Jon,
you.
appreciate you. Appreciate you. Be well. All right. Well, hey, everybody. That was cool. You know, it's meaningful for me because of who and how we got connected to Jon. And just as one of you, just being here as a listener, obviously, more than anything, it's really meaningful to hear Jon's perspective and also to see his personal alignment between what he teaches and how he lives, right? Showing us his story of his life. And I don't know about all of you, but it certainly got me thinking about how precisely am I inviting the future that I want? And where am I committed versus interested? And I also appreciate seeing Jon just openly sharing us what he's doing with AI, which I know you all probably range from very little to everything every day. And that's something here at xchange we're committed to continuing to share with you all. In fact, I'll tell you, I just got back from our two biggest clients. We happen to have two back-to-back in-person meetings with them last week. I've been out of the office for over a week. And in both cases, we combined facilitating appreciative inquiry conversations with their top 150 to 300 leaders. And then at the conclusion of those conversations, gathering everybody's input via QR codes and then using AI to synthesize inputs from 200-300 plus leaders. The convergence of using artificial intelligence with conscious convening is a horizon, it is a frontier that is going to open up so much possibility. It's going to open so much possibility. And we just got back, so we haven't had time to sit down and tell the story and share it with you. But keep an eye out in the coming weeks here. We're going to share with you where we're using AI combined with our approach to convening groups, the capacity to take large sets of data and to make sense of it, to make meaning with it, to help make strategic decisions, to use AI as a strategic thinking partner, not as the thought leader, but as the thought partner. And if I can give you like, hey, what's one thing we've learned? Because I see your comments in the chat, curious about it. I can tell you this question came in the chat today. Oh, what am I supposed to do if AI has all the answers? I understand where that kind of fear comes from. But here's where our expertise is needed. Our expertise outside of how we're convening groups, if we're just talking about the AI, our expertise is in knowing what to put into it, how to work with it, and then what to do with what comes out of it. So the AI is a strategic thinking partner, but you still have to know how to be the thinking leader. And that's something we're going to keep coming back to learn with you, from you, and share you what we're learning along the way. It's really, really exciting. Hey, we're 15 minutes over, and this was just a chance today to get to share from a teacher who's made a big impact. Maybe some of what he shared resonated, maybe some of it provoked. I appreciated Jon's willingness to just be exactly who he is and feel safe enough to share whatever he wanted with us. He told me before we got on, we never had a chance to do any prep together. He just said, there's nothing off limits. Just, go wherever your curiosity goes. So even though he's left, I just thought I would share with you all my respect for somebody like that who has nothing to hide and wants to share in the name of service. So, hey, I'm going to let you all go. Encourage you to have a great day and be well and be kind to your pets, your plants, and your people. All right. If y'all want to unmute, you can say whatever you'd like, everybody. Be well. Cheers. Take care.